Welcome to the Live Your Story podcast with guest Shimon, who manages and leads responsible gambling projects. Hi, everyone. I am Lorianne. I am that gal from Milton, Ontario, Canada, and I'm with.
I am that guy. I am Roy Miller from Dallas, Texas. Welcome to our Lift Your Story podcast.
In this episode, we're pleased to have Shimon with us. He manages and leads responsible gambling projects. Thank you again so much for being here with us.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here with you and to share some of my stories. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so you deal with online gambling, is that correct?
Yeah, it is. It is. We do only online and only online casinos, to be completely specific.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know here in the States, probably maybe 6 or 8 years ago, there was a big deal about trying to cracking down on online gambling.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that was worldwide, or is that just here in the States?
I think that it basically touched the States. I have to say that I am aware about the story, at least I think. Is it connected with the guy who passed away recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I only read about it during the time that he was pronounced dead. But yeah, I'm aware that there have been a strong campaign against online gambling, and I'm not sure how much he was successful in this wager. But to be honest, I mean, compared with other regions, for example, for Europe, the United States are developing their own regulations for online gambling only at this moment. So maybe he had some kind of a impact on it. But I think that it's very individual from market to market, because from his perspective and from perspective of his fight against online gambling, it was driven, at least I believe, by his own profit, because it was a competitive market and for his land-based casinos and for the whole establishment of the industry. So I think that you can see similar examples, but I cannot think about anything specific at this moment, right?
Yeah. Well, so in your field, what you do, what kind of tell us exactly how that works for you and what you're doing?
You mean in online gambling, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, we are an database of online casinos. I think the biggest on the world. We have more than 3,500 casinos in our database, I believe. And basically, what purpose it serves, it's a comparison site. So if you are looking to gamble in an online casino, you can find information about them on our website. You can compare it with other casinos. You can filter it. You can look for the specific games, for the specific payment providers, whatsoever you prefer. But the more important part it is in this is that we are giving these casinos rating, and these ratings are based basically on how they treat their customers. And the meter or the measurement or the methodology, if you say, which we are using for this is fair and moral principles. So if the thing that the casino is doing to their players, or how they set up their rules, is it fair or is it moral in the relation with the customer? This is the main thing that we're trying to compare, and we are trying to provide transparent information for these players in order for them to make the right decision. If you want to play, and if you want to find a casino that fits you, if you want to find a casino that is responsible, that is trying to be sustainable in their business and treat their customers well, you can be sure that you will find these on our website. You will just have to pick carefully.
Oh, yeah. So you're basically like a customer advocate.
Yeah. And in that sense, very much. But I have to say that it works both ways, because there are also players who are trying to outsmart the casinos, if you say it in a nice way, right? They are trying to screw them up with their patterns of play, with their, I'm not sure if I can call it a hustle, with the accounts, I mean, there are a lot of ways how they can try to outsmart the casinos, and you can be sure that they are getting smarter and smarter in this. And for some cases, they are also successful in this. There are many ways how they can do it, how they can create a pressure on an online casinos. So basically, we are trying to stand somewhere in the middle, but statistically, it's more casinos who are trying to make unfair conditions. I would say 70 to 30, but it's basically my personal view on this because I'm not directly connected with this. But yeah, surely there are players who are trying to get rich on the those little holes, those little, you know, gaps in the establishment of an online casinos, and try to make advantage from it, surely.
I'm curious, how did you get into this industry?
Yeah, it was kind of a coincidence. I mean, I was working on in the conference business. So basically what I was doing is that I was trying to also listen to stories. I was trying to listen to the newest developments, innovations in order to make the program of the conference. So, I mean, this is very much connected with what I'm doing right now because I'm trying to listen what each side has to say and try to make some kind of a conclusion from it. But I was trying to change the role, and I found an advertisement from a company which was looking for this kind of a job to work in the area of responsible gambling to try to make the better environment for the players. So yeah, I applied for it, and I have to tell you that I was completely unaware how the market of online gambling works. I even thought that the slot machines are established in a way that they are there to rip you off, like completely. Okay, I was thinking that there is this algorithm if it was a slot machine. I mean, in a physical form, or in a form of a video game. I thought genuinely that they are designed in a way that they are trying to rip you off. So you will, for example, you will have some winnings and you will get that winnings, but then it will starting to ripping you off like, okay, but I'm going to win this round. I'm going to win this round. And it's completely not like that, right? I'm not sure how aware are you about how this works, but how it basically works is that, I mean, it is designed to be profitable for the provider or for the casinos in the long run, but the results of each roll of each spin is completely random. And this was a very huge discovery for me because the only experience I had was that in some pubs, I don't know, when I was a kid, and some older not friends, but let's say acquaintances were playing at those machines like just for fun, and I was just amazed, and I thought it is definitely only ripping you off. There cannot be any good in this. So this was a very funny story when I came in, and my colleagues, they were surprised about that. But I think that it describes how uneducated or unaware people are in the matter of online gambling. So, I mean, the whole image of an industry is rather shady, at some places even black. And I understand why is that, because there are a lot of unpleasant things which can happen in connection with gambling. But there is also a way how to look at it as an way of entertainment. But there are certain rules that you have to go with, that you have to stick with. And I would say there's certain knowledge that you have to have or should have in order to not to meet with these unpleasant consequences.
How big is the online gambling industry?
Oh, I'm very bad at numbers in this, but definitely it is a big market, and it's a market which is growing. I think that I was reading some recent statistics. most accelerating markets in 2021 or whatever. And I think that it was on the third or fifth place. So the growth is very rapid. And I can see it also from my work, because what I see basically in US as well, I mean, it's not the primary market that I'm focusing on, but even in the states of Europe, the regulation and the birth and creation of a more liberalized market of online gambling is growing rapidly. So there are still so many areas which are not involved in an online gambling that this market can reach. So yeah, I cannot tell you exactly what is the revenue,
but it's up there in the top, right?
yeah, but it's going very much. I mean, from the historically, I think the one of the richest markets or biggest markets, and still it is a leader in this industry. It's United Kingdom, and I think that for them it is a part. The gambling has a considerable part in their, I mean, state revenue and their not the state, because the state is not making money on it, but there are things that you pay to state. I cannot think about the word at this moment. Yeah, taxes. So yeah, they are one of the biggest tax players in the matter of gambling, also for the owners of the gambling operators. So yeah, we are talking about a pretty big industry which is growing very fast, and in which the regulation is sometimes pulling the shorter rope, which is, I believe, understandable, because you cannot create a fully functional regulation to something that you have not a real market experience with. So yeah, they are trying to keep up, but it's not that fast in each cases every time.
It's interesting here in Canada, the gambling's all run by our government. So it's government regulated.
Yeah.
Not like in the States. I lived in Reno, and of course it was all, capitalist, but here it's, but I'm finding that, wouldn't that not be online gambling? Wouldn't that be a competition to the government? Because and that's another thing, a question. So me as a Canadian, can I gamble online in other countries or like that? I don't know much about this. So
I think that it depends. I'm not completely sure how it is applied for Canada, but for some countries, when they do not have fully developed their own regulation, it is not permitted for their players to play in an offshore providers. One of the most, I think, well-known offshore provider, which has a pretty good reputation, is a provider from Malta. There are a lot of gambling companies which have their headquarters in Malta. I'm not completely sure how it started, but it kind of works because they can have a lot of employees, young people, which come to this industry because they are coming from different regions of Europe. They want to go to an island. They want to have a lot of sun. They want to enjoy some party, right? Because you are on an island. And they are basically offering their services. I mean, with the license from Malta, there is a certain number of states that you can accept players from. But this area is shrinking for them for the past few years, and it is mainly because there are those nationwide regulations being developed. Recently, there was one. I'm not sure if they are completely in a final stage with this, but one of the most recent regulated markets is the Netherlands. And once you have your own regulated market, once you will develop a legislation, you don't want your players to play in an offshore providers. You want your players to play at providers with your license, because you are receiving taxes for it. And also it is because you have the grasp about the regulation. So you can set up the rules which you believe are the best for your players. And this is something that is coming into contrary with the monopoly markets, the one like Canada is, but I cannot completely say how it works over there, because it's one of the things that I've learned when I started doing this job, that this market is very much complicated, because on one hand you have internet access, which basically does not know any borders, national borders, but still there are restrictions where you can play, under which conditions and whatsoever. But to get back to this reason is that it's a quite common narrative that for the markets which are run by state monopoly, when there is no competition, when there is only experience from these homogeneous market, they are commonly not that much competitive compared with the providers from offshore. So and it's case, I believe it is for Finland, where they have their own monopoly. I believe that there is a high number of players who are playing at the offshore providers and not in those monopolized providers having the Finland license. And this is one of the, I would say it's reasons why are operators trying to lobby, operators, I mean casino like providers, trying to lobby to make a specific regulation in the market, because they want to have licenses, they want to make money, and they want to create a competitive area under which the players are satisfied and they are not searching for an offshore provider. There is an offshore provider which has a worse license than Malta has, because Malta is basically considered as a reliable and responsible regulation. But there is a Curacao, which is the island in Caribbean, I believe. It's and they have a lot of online casinos. They are providing their services to very high number of players, and this is commonly the destinations where those players who are searching for an offshore provider are ending. So this is basically how it works on a global level. But I have to say that it's difficult to fully grasp it, to fully say like these players, they are allowed to play at that license holders, and for those players from that country, they are only allowed over there. It differs from one regulation to another.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I would think a lot of people want to go online thinking they can avoid taxes if they win.
Yeah, that may be one of the reasons. And I've also met with cases, and it's because we are also working with players directly. We have a team which is dealing with complaints, because there are a lot of complaints from players globally on an online casinos. Basically there is a situation where they fear where they feel they have been mistreated, and there are number of places, one of us is us, where they can complain to it. And what we are doing with it is that we are trying to settle it up as an independent organization, let's call it, because we are not part of any alternative dispute resolution. It's ADRs. It's an area which is more, established in a way of an institution, but we are basically trying to resolve it from our position on the market. And it works quite well sometimes. That it depends from casino to casino, but basically I think that we are pretty successful in this, because when there is a complaint which resolution is somehow in disrespect of moral and fair approach, then those casinos are receiving black points, so their rating is decreasing. And it's basically trying to reflect in a transparent way how casinos are treating their customers. So this is the one of the tools. And I was talking about players who are specifically, I mean, in order to, they are looking for casinos where they can play anonymously. Like you said, Roy, because they want to avoid paying taxes. And there is a huge area which falls into this category, and those are cryptocurrencies casinos. And I have to admit that I have no direct experience with them, but as a common state point, it could be more easier for you to avoid any kind of financial records when you are playing in a cryptocurrency and really don't want to be connected with any specific winnings or want to somehow cover your means of I mean, your money or whatever. So I think this is the area which will be also under the scope of regulation.
Yeah, well, I know here in the States, we have tax laws pertaining to cryptocurrency. So, people think, well, I've got some Bitcoin, so nobody's going to know, but legally, you're supposed to report all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have a little experience because I have a friend who is dealing in cryptocurrency, and he's really trying to avoid his footstep in this. And I have to say that for a regular user or a player or whoever, I think it's quite complicated to do it. So it requires some effort, and this is good thing, I believe. So you can somehow rely on, you can count with the majority of people, they will not try to do any funny stuff with this, right?
Yeah.
Because they don't want to spend so much time like trying to be fraudulent or hide anything.
Yeah. Well, so how can our listeners reach out to you, to learn about this?
Excuse me, who can reach?
Our listeners, the people who listen to our podcast.
I mean, I think that they can find us using Google. I think this is one of the main sources how people are ending up on our website, because we are not doing any direct marketing. Basically, it's only what we have on our website, and we are trying to relate on that content. And part of that is a lot of educational materials, because we are trying to explain how this really complicated complex of an online gambling, how it works, what could your engagement with it do with you, how to maybe monitor yourself, how to spot the signals that are telling you that there is something not completely right with your gambling habits, and also with the part of trying to look for an help. So I think that regardless of the list of casinos, I think that you can find a lot interesting information on our website. And I think that it's very important for a website like us to have these in a direct association with the possible channels for gambling, because and this is my personal opinion, which was building for some time in me, I think that there are a lot of first-time gamers which are going through the website like us. And I think that it is very important for their first experience and for their setting up of a gambling habit on this side of a first contact with gambling to really learn how it works and what could happen and what could go wrong in this. So there is a term which is being applied for an substance abuse. I think that it has started in substance abuse, and it's called harm reduction. And basically, it's about showing the right way in this kind of stuff. All right, you want to do it, you want to gamble. I cannot really, put stop to it, because at the end of the day, you will be able to find a way how to gamble. So rather, I will give you a handbook of how to do it in a manageable way, right? So how to set up limits, how to set up your attitude towards the gambling. You are here to have fun, not to get rich, right? And doing this, I think that for most of the people, it could be. I think the harmless is not a good way, because there is a risk all the time, but at least you can decrease this risk to a considerable amount.
Makes sense.
What is your website address?
It's www.casino.guru.
Okay, easy and simple. Good.
Yeah, it's very easy. Yeah, we have this little green guru who is a part of our branding, and he's basically your guidance through the world of gambling.
Love it.
Good. Good.
Very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah, really appreciate it. I learned a lot. So I didn't know anything about online gambling.
Yeah, I'm happy that you're saying it, and it was a pleasure to be here and to show you a bit more of my work, of what we are doing, and maybe to shed some light into how gambling works in a global way in the world.
Thank you. Thank you
Great.
very much.
Appreciate you being here. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day.
Okay,
You too.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Be sure to visit us at lifterstory.com.